Hello, good morning. Good to see you all. How's your day going? I thought that I would jump onto all various lives right across social media with our wonderful guest this morning, Helen Rees, because we have been putting together something really very special with our choir. And I know that all the choristers are very excited, but we're particularly keen to make this an activity that is global. And I just wanted to have a quick chat with Helen because I thought it would position it for some of you that have seen us waving our arms around and belting it out over the last few weeks, but weren't quite sure how to get involved. So, hi Helen, how are you this morning?
Morning, I'm really well, thank you, Lucy.
Excellent. All right, so I'm going to position it first of all for everybody. Talk to me a little bit about how you first got into music and then how you got involved with choirs and particularly workplace choirs, because it's a thing that other than in England isn't a really big thing.
That's true, although it is growing around the world. So, okay, I'm not sure we've got long enough for the whole story about how I got into singing. I've been involved in singing and music all my life. My mum particularly is very musical and plays the piano and is a singer and has been involved in choirs. So I don't remember a time when there wasn't singing in our house and in our world of experience. So I think there's pictures out there of me sat at a piano about 1 year old, banging away on the keys and just loving that. And I started singing, you know, as a lot of people do at school. We did used to go to church a bit when I was young, and that was a big source of music for me as well. But generally, I just loved being among people and singing together. And that's always been with me. So throughout, you know, infant, junior, secondary school, at college, and then at university, I studied music at university, which is what brought me down here to Southampton in the first place. And I'd always loved arranging music as well for instruments and for singing. So to put things together as well as singing in choirs has always really been a big passion of mine. I guess my most influential singing experience would be being part of Central Berkshire Girls Choir throughout my teenage years, which was a girls' choir of 40 to 50 singers, I suppose, from across school age girls across Berkshire, where I grew up, led by the amazing choral conductor Gwyn Arch. Side story, his son Dave Arch is Dave Arch of Strictly Come Dancing and his wonderful, wonderful orchestra Arch. So that's a big, you know, name that people will know. But Gwyn has been writing and arranging and leading choirs all his life, award-winning global stuff. And his influence as a choral leader and a role model for me as a musician is absolutely immeasurable. He's just amazing. Taught me so much, and I've always been keen, as he was with his choirs, you know, for me to learn all of that and pass that on. And several of us from that choir have gone on to have either music as part of their careers. I know several of them are either professional singers, or they are music teachers, or they lead choirs in their spare time or their professional time. And as you know, I am here because I am a PA at a zoo. And how does somebody like that get involved in choirs? Truth is, the choirs came first. But I'm a people person, and you know, my career as a PA has been about bringing people together, connecting people, making stuff happen through supporting what I do. I made a decision probably before I was even at university that I didn't want to do music as a career, as a paid job. I was very, very keen to support it, and a lot of my PA work has been for organisations like the Arts Council and Southern Arts and you know, enablers of music, and through local authority community music provision as well, because I understand and I've lived what a difference music makes to people's lives, whatever career path or whatever their background, whatever they do. So while I've been a PA in various organisations, various sectors, music has always been part of my broader life very much. I've sung and played in bands, playing at weddings and pub gigs and all that kind of stuff. I've conducted choirs, I've sung in choirs, I've been part of orchestras, I've been part of chamber music, all kinds of stuff. Workplace choirs really came about for me, I can't even remember the date, but certainly at Marwell Zoo, it was around not long after I joined Marwell that the original kind of Gareth Malone phenomenon of Sing While You Work, which I think was on the BBC for a couple of series, where he worked with workplaces who didn't have any kind of musical connection particularly, using singing in a choir as a way of bringing employee groups together for well-being and fun, but also it overcomes a huge amount of issues that can crop up at workplaces, from silo mentality, workplace stress, lack of communication either between teams or at different layers of an organisation. And singing together is a great leveller. It doesn't matter whether you're, and I'm speaking from experience from our own workplace choir, it doesn't matter whether you're the chairman of the board of trustees, and he's one of our founder members of our choir, or a volunteer, a junior young member of staff who's just joined the business, a technical specialist or a marketing person, or anybody from any level in the organisation. Our volunteers are part of it as well. It brings people together with a common kind of experience of sharing good music and having fun, with none of the hierarchical kind of pressures or expectations or cultures around what people normally behave like in their work lives and their work roles. I should just point out at this point, I don't lead our workplace choir at Marwell. We have an amazing group of people from an organisation called Singforce who run that for us, because right from the beginning in 2012, I always wanted to be part of that choir and do it for my own well-being and fun, rather than being in charge of leading it. But when Gareth Malone was doing the Sing While You Work series, we were approached at Marwell to ask if we wanted to be part of that, because we obviously have a big PR and marketing team, and they're always up for getting us involved in all kinds of crazy stunts and things to help promote what we do at the zoo. And we were like, oh yeah, we'd love to do that. And lots of people said, oh, Helen will lead it. And I was like, no, Helen won't. Helen wants to be part of it, but I know people who run these things, and I'll happily find us somebody who can do that. That would be amazing. We didn't get into the final cut of those organisations. We were very close to be on the telly series, but a lot of people wanted to do it anyway. And in fact, a lot of people wanted to take part in it because it wasn't going to be on the telly. It was too much exposure, or they would feel too vulnerable if it was out there. But they did really want to do it for themselves, which is absolutely the right starting approach. And so it's been going with us there ever since. So we were one of Singforce's first workplace choirs, and they now have dozens and dozens and dozens, not only in the south of England where we are, but all over the country. I think they're expanding greatly with a load of choir leaders. So if anyone wants to know about Singforce, I'm happy to put them in touch. Not a promotional video for them, of course, but it's worthy of saying. So yeah, that's the workplace choir side, but it's been scientifically proven in study after study that singing, while a lot of people who don't have an experience of it think it must be very niche and very expert and very kind of, you must have loads of experience and be able to read music to do it. Absolutely not. Anybody can do it. And it's just such a lovely experience. People, scientific studies saying about the increases in well-being. It can reduce sickness absence from work, which is insane. It can reduce communication issues and help departments communicate with each other better where they haven't had that before. Overcome all kinds of bumps in the road in the workplace that cannot often be resolved other ways. It's a completely different way of doing that. So it's just lovely, and to see it uplifts you. Our choir sessions are on a Wednesday lunchtime, and it's like the middle of the week, and we call it hump day, but actually it's peak day because everybody comes out of that just feeling uplifted. If you've had a challenging morning in meetings, or you're super busy and you don't think you've got time, which is often the comment that people make why they can't join choir. Oh, I'm too busy, I haven't got time. You make time. It makes your afternoon and the rest of your week even more productive, because you've unlocked all of those blocks and pressure and all of that stuff. And it helps things flow.
I know that because I know from our choir sessions how much everybody gets out of it, and that really has been phenomenal. I mean, you came to me with Rachel King, who was working for us at the time, and suggested that it would be really amazing to have a choir that was attached to Executive Secretary Live, our big conference, and we decided, having had some conversations about how it would work, that we would run that as an activity that people could take part in who were delegates, and that we would have 2 rehearsals just of an hour each. and then perform at gala dinner. And I think for both of us, that first year that we did it, there was some real trepidation, and it was like, oh my word, is this really going to work? But blimey, I mean, how many countries have you been to now with us? You must have done, I don't know.
I think we've done 4 altogether. So we've taken it to live, obviously in London was the first one, and we've done London a few times. And also Washington, DC in America, Auckland in New Zealand, and in Johannesburg in South Africa. So hi to everybody in all of those places. I think that the first one in London, you talk about trepidation, and I certainly felt that. It was terrifying. And I can only imagine what the idea must have felt like, because I run around with this idea in my head everywhere I go. I'd start a choir in a supermarket if they'd let me, have danger to myself, frankly. So I'm always up for kind of putting that out there as a suggestion, that. But when we let people know that was an option, an opportunity for them to take part, we had no idea how many people would take us up on that. And there's always a broad range of responses to it. You always get, understandably, people will say, oh my God, no, you don't want me in there. I'd break all the windows, or my husband's threatened to divorce me if I start singing, and all those kind of stories. Those are the stories that people tell themselves throughout their lives about how they can't do something, or they're not the sort of person that does something. And singing is quite a, it's a Marmite thing, right? You either love it or you think you can't do it. And this is about helping people see that actually, if you stop telling yourself that story that you've been telling yourself all your life, that your music teacher or your parents or your friends or somebody in a position of influence when you were very young possibly suggested that you couldn't do it once as a throwaway comment, you then carry that with you all your life. And so there are a lot of people out there for whom that's a really challenging kind of concept. Come along, join in a thing, it's going to be fun. Oh, no, don't know. And I'm trying to think back, we probably had about 20 to 25 people in that first year at Live. Where it was 2016, if I remember rightly, and I'd arranged a parody song which was really quite fun, based on Dolly Parton's 9 to 5, but we made it all about the admin profession, and people just bought into it and just loved it. And we had some lovely unexpected little comedy moments at the gala dinner, with people holding up copies of Executive Secretary magazine. And not 9 to 5, Nobody Does It Better, wasn't it? Sorry.
Nobody Does It Better.
Nobody Does It Better, that's right. Oh, so many songs, I get them all mixed up. Nobody Does It Better, of course it was.
Well, we've had so many anthems since then. I mean, the Labby Sifri song, Something Inside So Strong, that one always gets me so emotional. And more often than not, when we're at Live, we end up finding a piano and people are singing late at night. And it's just such an amazing, there is a story about breaking into a piano in Johannesburg. It wasn't us. It wasn't us,
John Lawrence. It was not us. But and this is a really good example, actually, of how music is a great leveler and a bringer together. Okay, so we haven't got time for the whole story, but we were in a hotel in Johannesburg, and we found a piano. I have piano radar. Okay, if there's a piano in the building, I will find it. And those hotels that put pianos right there in the foyer, they just, they see me coming, frankly. And that's a different story about Washington, DC, and the big grand piano in the very big, shiny foyer, and then playing it late at night, and people in rooms upstairs complaining. And we're just like, hotel put piano in the foyer. What are you supposed to do with it? Anyway, in Johannesburg, there we were, and we found this piano, and it had a padlock on it. The keyboard was padlocked shut. And we asked very nicely, in our lovely English accents at the desk, whether it would be possible for them to unlock it. And they shrugged and they said, it's not our padlock. The guy who comes in and plays it once a week locks it. He doesn't want anyone else playing it. His padlock, he's locked it. I'm sorry, we can't help you. And then it transpired a conversation, I think, between your husband and possibly John Lawrence. And then suddenly the piano was open. What happened in between that, I couldn't possibly tell you. But then we played and we sang, and it was lovely. And then the slightly nervous looking security guards who were at the front desk to start with they relaxed and they were smiling and they came over and they applauded and they joined in. I was nervous about when they started coming over. I was like, oh God, we're going to end up somewhere else.
They loved it.
And they loved it. And music does that for people. It breaks down barriers and it gives people a shared experience and overcomes all sorts of things. So there you go. That was quite special.
So now, I mean, for me, one of my major highlights was in New Zealand, where we had all the ladies and gentlemen from Papua New Guinea, because those guys can sing two parts at the same time. They have that incredible voice. And so, and just for those of you that have never been part of the choir, don't know what it is that we sing or anything, it's not choral, terribly kind of churchy, serious music. What we usually do is some kind of anthem. So we've been doing This Is Me, which is what we're going to do for Global from The Greatest Showman. And Proud by Heather Small is another real favourite. But talk to me a little bit about what has happened over this pandemic, because it's taken on a completely new dimension since we went into lockdown.
Yeah, it has. And you know, it's one thing doing these sessions at live in person where there's a lovely room full of 20 to 40 or however many people. Working with a group of people in a room is an amazing experience, and everybody bounces off each other and it's really vibrant in the room. And when you and I talked about maybe offering this online, we think about, oh, how is that going to work? Because as everybody will probably be, you see all of these projects on the news or in the media where virtual choirs have come together on Zoom or something, and they're all, on the screen at once, and you hear this amazing performance. That's not technologically possible to do because nobody has invented an internet yet where you can have audio instantaneously with music, everybody singing along, and all of those technological feeds going back and forth. So we had to find a way of delivering it that would work for people. And what we've been doing is each week on a Thursday evening at 6:00, and there will be one this evening, that will come up on your screens, I'm sure, is holding an online Facebook Live session for choir, which is basically me waving my arms around and a backing track that people can sing along to. And it's just like singing along to the radio, but having somebody bring you in and help you with the tricky bits and generally kind of keep the experience kind of framed in a chunk of time and giving it some kind of shape. And I think we had, 50 or 60 people on the first one? It was amazing. We've been doing this weekly throughout lockdown, and people are joining from all over the world. So there are familiar faces in there from people we know have come to live in the past, or people who would have loved to have come to live but couldn't get there. And actually, while the environment, the space that we're delivering it in over the internet isn't quite the same as being in the room, what's great about it is we can reach even more people than we could have done before. So the potential size of the choir is bigger. It's accessible to anybody in your group who would like to be part of it. And it's a relatively simple thing to take part in. You just join the Facebook Live, listen to the lovely music, grab a set of the lyrics if you want to, which we give people, and then I just kind of coach you through it and we sing together. People only hear me and my voice on the backing track through the live and themselves singing. And again, this is another fear that people have about singing, is the fear about other people hearing them. And this is a way where you can take part in choir without having that fear realized, if you like. When you start singing, the fear goes away when you're with other people and everyone's sharing an experience. But for those who are really nervous about singing, this is great because it's just you and just me, and we could just be together. No one else can hear you. Maybe your neighbours, maybe your family, maybe your dog, I don't know, but just you really. And that's given people a whole new way into taking part with it, which I hope will carry forward if they get an opportunity to sing somewhere else after this. But we've been doing it every week, and I think I don't know what it is now, 8-9 weeks now, I can't remember.
11, I think, Helen, 11.
I know I missed one. Sorry, that was bad hay fever week. I think 11 weeks now, so that's amazing. And when you think about in live at the conference, we have 2 hours effectively until a performance, and it does really throw people in the deep end. We have one rehearsal on the Thursday night, one rehearsal on the Friday night, about an hour long, maybe a bit longer, but usually they're quite tight for time because we've got other things to go on to afterwards. And then they're performing. And in one way, that's quite good because you haven't got time to think about it and worry about it too much. And everyone on Saturday is always like, oh, what are we going to do? And how are we going to be? And what's it going to be like? And it doesn't matter. We're just going to go. Nobody has any expectations. And it always turns out to be a wonderful, wonderful performance, as we know. And people surprise themselves how much they've achieved in that short space of time. To get something from zero, never having walked in a room and sung anything before and sitting at the back like that, to standing up and performing in front of 100 people. So many people would never believe they could have done that, and they've done it.
And it's really emotional. I mean, there have been people in our choirs who get to the end who are hugging each other and who are in tears. If you go back and you look at the pictures after the choir has happened, there is just such emotion on the faces of the people who've done it, because people suddenly realise that they can sing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And half my evening after that is going around and saying to people, I told you you could do it. I told you it would be wonderful. People need to experience it sometimes to really believe it for themselves. And in a way, that's a kind of condensed experience of what the workplace choir gives people. That uplifting moment, that sense of achievement, that sense of coming together and doing something wonderful. You can have that every week. Maybe not in a ball gown and, all of that, but you can have that every week to some level. It's addictive, obviously. I would say that because I've been doing it all my life, but it is, and it's such a buzz. So on 2 hours and then a performance, if that's possible, what we're doing now online with the choir, an hour every week for 11 weeks. This is incredible. I'm so excited about it. It's just having people be able to do that each week, and if some of them will choose to go on and find a community choir or another musical activity as a result of this, that's amazing. I'd love to hear about that, actually, if people have found that it's given them something that they want to continue doing and take forward in real life, if you like. That'd be amazing. I'd love for us to come together. I know it's not clear yet whether big scale events, when they will be able to start getting back again. I'm sure they will eventually, and when we do, if we can bring this together in a in-person way, it'll be incredible. Because I never hear you one at a time, right, when you send me your recordings and things. So to put it together is going to be amazing virtually, but to do it after all of these weeks of people coming together and singing these 3 songs so far, then that'll be incredible. So exciting.
So we are collecting recordings of everybody singing This Is Me, and you are editing them together in order for us to broadcast them at some point during the global conference, which is a week on Friday.
A week tomorrow.
Yes, exactly. So choir members out there, we need you to get recording. And if you have any questions at all, just message Helen or message me, because we will make sure that we get back to you. But we want recordings from all of you because it's so wonderful. It was so wonderful to have you all on screen. But also, if you sung in a choir for us before for live anywhere in the world, we would love it if you wanted to record you singing This Is Me also. And we can let you have the backing tracks for that. And if you check back on the Facebook group, there are all the rehearsals from the last 11 weeks. So you can go through and you can look at that for yourself. What else? What else do they need to know, Helen?
Oh, I think I wanted to say, to those of you who've already sent me your recordings, thank you. They're amazing. I know that there are many, many more of you out there who haven't yet sent me your recordings. That's okay, but I would like my inbox to start heaving with recordings very soon, please. It is quite a job to put them all together into the finished piece. So if you are taking part in these sessions, or even if you haven't done yet but you'd like to, you can cram it, you can binge listen to the previous sessions. Get your recordings into me if you can, please, by this weekend. So you've got today, you've got tomorrow, you've got part of the weekend. I'm going to start putting them together, and then we really would like something ready in time for live. So I need your individual recordings in as soon as possible, please. I was thinking about it this morning, and I know that, because we have a session this evening, you could use that session as a warm-up. So 6 till 7 this evening, British time, we will be on our usual choir session, and we will do the run-throughs of the song. We'll do all 3 songs, but we'll focus on This Is Me because I know people are still doing recordings. The minute we finish that session, you could record your track of doing that. Yeah, you're in the choir zone, you've been singing for an hour, your voice is lovely and warmed up, you've got the endorphins flowing, you're up and upbeat. If you haven't done it yet, that would be my first suggestion, is to do it straight after our choir session this evening. If you can't join us this evening, or you can't stick around to do that afterwards, then use the previously broadcast sessions all on the Facebook group as a warm-up. Listen back to a couple of them yourself in your own time, and then do your recording after that. So don't go into it cold. Like any kind of exercise, or you would do a warm-up right before you go on stage to speak. You do vocal warm-ups, or you'd make sure your voice and you're physically prepared for it. So warm up, use the sessions to do that, do your recording. I put out a guidance note with the backing tracks, which are also in the Dropbox folder, to give you some tips about doing a recording. Make sure you're in a quiet place with no background noise. Get yourself a set of headphones so that you can hear the backing track in those headphones, and you just get the recording of your voice again. Because I have loads and loads of overlaid backing tracks that don't work. You need to hear the backing track for your recording. Video, ideally, please, because we'd want to make a kind of visual representation of the song. So you can use your phone to record yourself. If you've got your laptop or a tablet or a PC or something, to play your backing track into your headphones, but use your phone to record your video. Don't mind, whichever way around is easiest for you. If you're using the lyrics, because you need the prompt and reminder, try not to hold them in your hand, because the sound of paper rustling when you're singing will carry into the recording. So tape it to the wall in front of you, to the side of your laptop, or have it on the table, but don't be touching it, because the minute you touch paper, that gets all over the recording. So those would be my tips. And I know the other tip I wanted to say is about anxiousness or nervousness about doing it. It's really hard. I've been doing this all my life, so the nerves are different for me, really. But I know this will be a first-time experience for a lot of people, and to hear your own voice back, because you'll listen to your recording before you send it in to me, and it's just for you. And when we've done our sessions, and you've heard we've got me and the backing track and all of those things along with you singing, that's a nice protective nest of everything around it. When you've got your recording, it's just your voice. It will feel a little bit exposed and a little bit vulnerable. Don't worry about that. That's entirely normal, and it's the same for everybody. But what will happen is when you send that in to me and I put it with everybody else, it's like a choir. It is a choir, and all of those voices will meld together and blend together, and it will sound amazing. I absolutely promise. I guarantee it will sound amazing. I know it's not possible to get rid of those worries, but try and put them to one side and do it anyway. What do we say? Feel the fear and do it anyway. Yeah. So get it done in the best possible way. Get it done. Send me your recordings. I can't wait. And let's put this together, and it's going to just be amazing. So try and put those fears aside, because it'll be all right.
Yes, and even if somebody has never done choir with us before, if they want to turn up this evening and they want to take part and just do this final rehearsal, we'd still love to have your recordings.
The more the merrier. As many as possible, lots and lots from all around the world. We know you're out there. We know you're all around the world. There'll be people from different continents doing this at different times of day. We've had people joining us in the middle of the night, early morning, lunchtime, early evening, all of it. I want all of it. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And you men as well. Lots of guys taking part.
They're so funny. All the boys. All the
boys. It's one big happy family. I love it. And it's just been amazing to see the engagement and the conversation that's been going on alongside the sessions as well. Because I find it really hard not to keep looking at the comments when we're doing the live sessions, because I can't help myself. It's like being part of the conversation in the room. And this is like choir, normal times choir in a room. You've got to stop chatting, get on with the work. But to see those conversations happening, people are making connections and finding things in common and exploring and supporting each other. I know that Dinah and Helen Monument, for example, have been supporting each other to do their recordings because they were both feeling nervous about it. And so they were checking in with each other and helping each other do that, which is just wonderful. And that's what happens with singing experiences in real life as well. It's people come together and help each other. So find a buddy, find a singing buddy and do that. I think that's great.
And what I loved about the boys particularly was they did that thing which some of the women do also, but they kind of came and sat on the periphery and looked and went, yeah, that looks quite fun. And they didn't really want to do it. And the minute we said, do you want to join in? They were like, oh, yeah, all right then. And then they love it. And we've got all the A Up boys from Yorkshire.
Yeah, Yorkshire boys, yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, the boy band album is coming. I feel it. The A Up boys are definitely they're amazing. But it's, it's typical in school environments and even workplace environments. There are always far fewer men in choirs than women. It's just how it's been. But to get the guys involved in this kind of thing is just fantastic. And anybody can do this. Anybody, whether you've sung before, you don't think you've got a note in your body, you absolutely can. And they have the best time. It's all about the fun and the taking part.
So before I let you go, because I know that you're at work and you're up your eyes because the zoo is reopening next week.
We're reopening soon. We're allowed to reopen from next week, but we've got a lot to get ready. So we are still working. For a long time, we'd been told we were not allowed to open until the early July. So all of our planning and our risk assessments and our safety and all of those kinds of things have been working towards that date. So we're still working really hard to do that. So some zoos will be open next week. But we will be announcing our reopening date soon. But everybody's back working and working really hard to make it a safe and enjoyable experience for everybody. So dates on that soon, but yeah, it's coming.
Fantastic. But what I did want to say was that you are now running choir activities for companies, aren't you, on occasion, and
Yep.
for groups. And I know that when people post in Facebook, which they seem to be doing quite a lot at the moment, saying we're trying to find something interesting as a team building activity for our staff, you're able to step in and do that just for an hour, aren't you? And it just is such an amazing, amazing experience. And you can do it virtually. You don't even have to be there.
I don't have to leave this room. I could do. It'd be nice to leave the room occasionally, and maybe in future times where things are a little bit back more in physical spaces, that's possible. At the moment, yeah, absolutely, it's possible to do a meaningful session of singing in 45 minutes to an hour. So if anyone's looking, they've got a virtual conference or a team building day, a strategy day, like you'd have an off-site, team thinking day, and you want to get out of the normal headspace of work environment stuff. And people are looking for those kinds of different activities to get people into different ways of thinking or just break out of the norm. Then singing is absolutely that, and I can do that. So if people are interested, then get in touch. I know there's lots of ways you can do that, but I'm part of the ExecSec Facebook group, so that's one easy way you can do that. Or I'm all over LinkedIn as well. You can find me there. But yeah, a singing session, and it might not be anything that you or your executive team will have thought about before. Team building conjures up these very kind of particular ideas of standing in groups and figuring out a model structure or mind mapping things on flip charts or whatever it might be. But singing absolutely can be, even if that's something that you've never really thought of before. We've talked about all of the benefits that it can bring and the well-being and the productivity and the creativity that it can inspire as well. So it's absolutely a highly recommended activity, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody who wants to talk about that some more.
Fabulous. Excellent. Well, Helen, thank you for giving up your time this morning. I hope that thank you for everything that you've been doing through this pandemic, because you have just really brought so much joy to so many of our community. We get so many messages from people saying what a total rush of endorphins it is taking part in the choir. And, at a time where people have felt very isolated, it's provided an hour every week where people do feel very connected with each other. So thank you so much for doing that.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure. And it's all of those things for me as well. Just being part of something like that. I've never felt more connected to all of you by being part of that. So thank you, Lucy, for the opportunity to do that.
No pleasure. Excellent. So if anybody has any questions at all, feel free to email me, feel free to message Helen. But we look forward to seeing as many as possible of you this evening for rehearsal at 6 o'clock GMT here on the Facebook group. And we're looking forward very much to receiving your recordings.
Very much so, yeah. Recordings, please, by the end of the weekend. I know a couple of people are asking there about deadline for recordings. I need them by the weekend, please. But you've got loads of time and another rehearsal practice session this evening to help you prepare for that. So I look forward to seeing all of that. And the instructions about where to send it are all in the guidance notes as well. But yeah, ask us anything and keep in touch. Can't wait to see you all this evening.
Have a good day, Helen. See you later.
Thank you, Lucy. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.